Welcome back, folks, to the Via Pinstriping page. If you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for watching. Today we're just going to do a pinstriping design. We're going to do a symmetrical pinstriping design. I have here a chalkboard panel that you can get at like the Dollar General or Walmart. This is just made for chalkboard art or drawings or lettering. I think they're like $1, $2 or something like that for these backgrounds. And we're going to be using today Mr. J's Excalibur. This is a sword, and if y'all have seen any of my previous videos, you would know that I'm not super fond of using the sword. I've gotten used to using scrollers for all of my design work, so I'm going to kind of test my limits here with these sword brushes. So I have not really thought up anything in particular, but I do know that I want to do a symmetrical design. So usually the teardrop shape's a pretty good thing to start with. So let's try to mix it up a little. So I'm starting in the middle and I pull down, right? But I'm not going to complete it. And what I'm going to do is do the same thing on the other side. It's actually going out a little bit, tapering back in, but not quite touching at the center. Recently I was able to do some classes with a friend of mine, Robert Messenger, and we were showing both the sword and the scroller together, and I had a chance to pick up the sword a little bit more than normal, because I was trying to help out with the what he calls the dagger style. Sometimes people call these daggers, even though they are not daggers. There are daggers that Mac does sell, but they're kind of hard to find and kind of a less quality brush because they are the green wrap. The Excaliburs also use a green wrap, but they are high quality hairs. You can get them from Mr. J's website. I'm unsure the name of the website, but if you just Google Mr. J Pinstriping, you can find this brush. Now, as you can see, I'm going a little bit slower than normal. I have to really concentrate when it comes to using these brushes. And as usual, I have the camera right in my face. So I'm having to make moves to avoid the camera. Now, I kind of missed the mark there, but I'm just going to fill in that spot. Some people overshoot these connection points. It happens to all of us. Sometimes you just overshoot it. You could always just erase some, or you could stop prior and continue it like I did. All right. I think I'm going to go out and in to sort of create these little, almost like arms, upward arms. And again, I did not connect, and I'll just finish the connection. You know, using this brush really does kind of guide my mindset with what design elements I'm going to do next. Because I'm not going to do any hard loops, being that I don't have the scroller in my hand. So I'm going to try to keep it fairly simple. As you can see, this side got a little thick on me, so I'm just going to make this side a little thicker just to match it up. Right? Now let's try to pull something out of this part. And I'm going to finish the teardrop shape. I would do the other side here. I'm pushing down, going out, and then tapering in until you meet right in the middle. And when you get to this point, you just lift up. I know that that was a big issue with the folks doing the classes. They always end up with this blob at the bottom. And the best way I could tell them is instead of pulling down, pull up. Because you can see that this portion is what's touching. So if you push down and back, you're going to end up with a blob. If you push up that way, kind of that way, upward, it will allow you to leave a nice clean end, which you can always fix the end. There's no big deal if you get a funky end, you can always fix it. Now, off camera, I am paletting. I'm always reducing, always paletting. Always making sure that my paint is the correct consistency. All right. So now, let's try to add a little bit of weight. Because right now, currently, all the weight is on top. And we're going to just try to add a little bit of weight on the bottom half. I will say these sword brushes, see, that's a lot closer than this, so I'm gonna bring this up just a little bit more. These sword brushes, if you can really learn them, I mean, you get the most beautiful consistent line and a very fine line, which really kind of lends itself to the word pinstripe, right? A pinstripe. I will say that with the scroller, usually my line is a little fatter. It's just a little bit, got a little bit more mass to it. Let's see, I want to find a way to make this similar to that. So I think what I'll do is I'll connect this part inward. I'm paletting right now, sorry. I'd like to have it here, but it's like it doesn't ever really work out. And I like to do these things sitting down. If I'm going to make these videos, I'm going to try to be comfortable. So I'm going to connect this in a similar way that I did over there. I'm going to go out. And I'm going to connect right here. All right. Do the same thing on this side. Look, I'm losing a hair. I don't know if you can see that. Oof. But I'm going to pull it out. Maybe you'll be able to see it. You could tell usually because you get this little tiny extra. And that thing will get in the way if you don't pull it out. Now don't be concerned if you lose hairs. This could possibly be a cat hair or something. Don't be concerned if you lose hairs on the brush. It's going to happen. It happens to every brush. I've actually had this thing for years now, and it's really not lost a lot of hair, even though I don't use it much. It is surprisingly holding up very well. So it is a very well constructed brush. You know, you hear these stories of pinstripers having brushes for 10, 15, 20 years. So if you treat them right, you can really get a good longevity out of them. And if I hadn't said before, I'm using one-shot process green. All right, so now I have all my stuff here in the middle. I'd like to add more weight coming out. So I'm going to try to find a way to do that here. I'm actually going to try to connect into the middle some. So I'm going to go inward. I'm kind of going to make a V shape, right? Start here. I'm going to go down to the middle. And I'm going to come back up. I did cross over a little bit, but that's okay. We'll fix it. Come back this way. Slight arch. I got a little kind of a, almost looks like a dog bone meeting there. I'm going to try to make that a little nicer looking. Just kind of fix the meeting points. And let's try to add some, maybe I'll do like an S curve, right? So that's going to take a little bit of effort because I have to twist the brush in my fingers. So I'm going to come in, twist out, and twist back in. And be mindful that you don't stick your finger in the paint. Right? And now here's the real challenge, right? To match that. So according to my grid line, I've gone in just a little bit. I left a small little corner there. Came out. I did not do any excess grid lines over here, so I kind of don't know how far I went. But it looks like roughly the middle of this section, right? So roughly the middle. Maybe on the inside of it, just a hair. All right, so let's give it a shot. And I ended right before the line over here, maybe, well, we'll say like a ½ an inch. So you really want to take a glance at them things before you take the leap. Right, so let's go out. Sometimes you can use your peripheral vision. Sorry, that's a difficult word for me. Peripheral. And there you have it. Now, I'm gonna be completely honest with you folks. I'm surprised that this is going as well as it is. Again, I'm not super versed on these brushes, but I'm trying real hard to get used to them. You know, there's been moments. Again, I'm hanging out with my friend Robert. Robert Messenger. Shout out to Robert. Where he was working on a vehicle at a car show, and the opportunity came up to help him do another color on a truck. But all he had was swords. And being that I'm not extremely comfortable with them, I had to decline the opportunity to paint, even though I really wanted to. I just, you know, you don't want to mess up people's vehicles, so I declined. He was in the middle of doing a really nice red truck, and he was doing some old school black and white colors, which, if anybody knows, the old school colors, you know, red and white, maybe some black, works out pretty good. So I did stick my finger in here. You can barely see it, but I'm going to fix it. Just going to go over that line. And with that being said, folks, also keep in mind that going over your previous lines is pretty normal. You know, if you end up with a situation to where you can see through the line, or something happens to where you have to go over it again, it's pretty normal. So don't be afraid to go over the same lines twice if need be, especially if you're dealing with like a yellow. Sometimes yellows don't cover very well, or if you're trying to cover over something that's difficult to cover, you're probably gonna have to go over your lines more than once. You know, some people ask and they'll talk about having issues with coverage, and you know, a lot of the times it can be fixed just by going over it twice. Sometimes the easiest fix is just exactly what you would think it is. Right, so I added these extra little lines on the outside so that I can sort of turn this into a point. And being that I have this angle going already, I think I'm going to try to match it, right? So something like that. to keep it flowing. The idea of all of this stuff is to develop a flow. And, you know, another thing people say is, well, how do you know? How do you know what to put where? And you really have to study pinstriping designs. You have to look at them a lot. I like to save designs that I like and break down what are the elements that I like and what are the elements that I don't like about them, and try to mimic those things and do my best to try to get something that I like to come out. Now, that being said, another important thing to know is when to stop. So I feel like this is a complete design. I'm going to go ahead and stop. We're at the 15-minute mark, and I think that's a pretty decent design for 15 minutes. I feel like it's a little slow. I am gonna try to fix this little edge here. It's bothering me because it's kind of rough there at the bottom. So if you can make nice clean contacts, nice clean points, you know, your customer will appreciate, other pinstripers will appreciate, and it really does wow the crowd if people see that you're precise. So you really want to make precise movements. If you're not happy with a move that you just did, erase it. Just start over. So, if I didn't have tape on this thing, I'd do a border for you, but we can give it a shot. We'll see if it moves. It's definitely moving, but I'm going to give it a shot anyways. These are another things that I've not really got a handle on yet. The way I figure, if y'all go watch me struggle, you understand that this is not a perfect art form. You do strive for perfection, but this is definitely not a perfect art form. All right. Now, I don't know if I can do this without breathing all over the camera, making that horrible wind noise, but let me give it a shot. I will say the other side was a little easier because I had something to hook my finger on. She's moving on me. Ugh. Duh. It's moving. Alright, so look, we started coming out here. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. So let's turn that into part of the design. Alright. Kind of breaks it up some. You got to understand how to improvise if you can. Because when you're out doing a show or working on somebody's vehicle, you're going to have a lot of things that happen to you that are unexpected. So to be able to improvise is very important. I'm going to avoid this piece of tape here by going across. It's got a little chunky down here, but it's okay. I think it's hard. It's a little harder because it's low. I don't want to adjust the table, nor do I feel like standing up. I just got off work, folks, so we're going to do this one sitting down. It went from border to design, didn't it? So much for a border. And so much for knowing when to stop, right? We'll see how it looks when I'm done. We'll either keep it or I'll wipe it off, one or the other. Oof, I went real far there. So look, if you dab your nose, you can actually use the oils off your nose to wipe mistakes. You would generally push it back into the line. Little trick I learned along the way. Trying to find out how to connect it to this without making it look silly, which we may have already gotten past that point. And here we go. Here's the connection. All right. Now we're going to give it a little signature. We're going to put it right here. And there you have it, folks. That took me 24 minutes. Not horrible. I'm gonna give you a sort of a dead-on shot because I know at some point somebody asked me if you could please do a centered shot so they could take a look. Centered. I think that's fairly centered. Unfortunately, you got that real bad glare. See if I can help out with that. So it's not horrible, right? See if I can zoom out some. I'll take this tape off. There you have it, folks. Another pinstriping design. I hope it helped you learn something. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and I'll try to continue with the videos more often. I've been a little busy, but no excuses, right? All right, thank you all so much. Have a good day.